Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the session on economic emancipation and the Black Lives Matter movement. My name is Victoria NKATHA, and I'm the founder of Responding to Life. I'm currently based in Odense, Denmark. I'm Kenyan by birth and partial growth, and I'm 23 years old, a motivational speaker. And I have a background in economics and business administration, a bachelor background in business management, and a master's in economics and business administration, currently pursuing in accounting and finance. And I'm passionate on matters mental health, Africa, the youth, and the future. I've prepared something short. Hopefully, it won't be long. I'm a motivational speaker, so when I say short, it ends up becoming quite extensive. But I'll definitely try to keep within my time limit. So the topic, economic emancipation, I'm going to deal on what is economic emancipation, how to achieve economic emancipation, and the role of the diaspora and the youth. And then we'll discuss a bit about the Black Lives Matter movement, what the movement is about, the effects of it on the diaspora and its impact on the African continent and the youth as well. What is emancipation? Emancipation is the process of freeing oneself from whichever impediment that is holding one back. Therefore, economic emancipation is the process of becoming economically free from the impediment which holds the countries of Africa back. We're focusing on Africa. Now, historically, in the 1960s, Africa and Southeast Asia were at par in terms of economic development. However, we have seen an exponential rise in Southeast Asia, where Africa today lags behind. And there's several reasons to this, and we're going to go into them in a few minutes. Now, one of the reasons as to why we have not yet achieved economic emancipation is primarily, but not entirely, from the many debts that we have incurred gradually from Western countries and the lack of being self-sufficient in the same. And the growth of a country economically is mostly dependent, or rather is importantly dependent on the knowledge and the education of the young minds towards becoming masters in the respective fields of growth, such as technology, science, the arts, and much, much more. And this is why this panel is just young people. However, a limitation is the nation's, or rather the continent's, ability to support and push the young minds to nurture what they have within themselves. This is a struggle, and I've also heard this from yesterday and today, that this is actually a struggle that we're facing in terms of being able to push our young people forward in all the different aspects that they can be able to bring to the table. Now, how to achieve economic emancipation? We go into details with that. Number one, leadership. We talk about leadership quite often. However, most of what fails Africa as a continent and its countries is the fact that most of our leaders are focused on personal growth and accumulating personal wealth instead of serving the nation and the people they are set to serve. One way we can do away with this is by transformational leadership, where we can be able to work with groups to identify needed change through creating a vision to guide the change through inspiration. And this is important because this is one of the talks that has been going around in the sessions that I've listened to in terms of getting groups of youth and being able to implement this. However, we need to be able to implement this instead of talking about it so much. It's not all negative, however. We are experiencing encouraging signs of potential change. I'm seeing a lot of youth step into the place and really just vouch for themselves and push their agenda, and they're able to be heard and make sure that they're heard. More people and youth should be able to step up to positions of power and require the change that they want to see and be the change that they want to see. Number two, political stability. That's also another way to achieve economic emancipation. Now, with economic stability, the best example to give would probably be in Rwanda. Now, Economic growth cannot be achieved in a country that is full of civil wars, tribalism, and political unrest, which is what we see in so many of our African countries. Now, Rwanda came from a genocide in 1994, and the growth has been exponential since then because they realized that we need to have stability. According to reports from the World Bank, before the coronavirus hit, the pandemic hit, Rwanda was in the process of being a was in the process of an economic boom prior to the pandemic. And had it not been for the pandemic, Rwanda's economy would have grown with no doubt from what it was last year. I think the next point, number 3, which is probably the most important point and one that I will emphasize a lot on, is education. As earlier mentioned, education plays a big role in the growth of a nation's economy. And education creates and nurtures new knowledge and innovation. It is education that lifts people out of the state of poverty. This can be argued, however, education does place an individual from one mentality to another. Prioritizing the education of youth can result to a huge influx of skills in the marketplace and innovative business ideas, which don't only create new jobs, but also opportunities where we build things that have not yet been seen, therefore creating brand new opportunities for people, for the youth as well. This, I can give an example by the African Women in Europe Academy, presented by Madam Joy Zenz, who is actually in our session. And she leads one of the organizations that's focused on educating and mentoring the youth, as well as other individuals. Responding to Life from my end is a platform as well that aims to empower, inspire, and motivate lives, as well as educate lives. And I am also partnering with Art in Heart, which is an organization that also deal on nurturing talents. This way we can be able to help individuals nurture everything that they have within them, and therefore creating brand new opportunities in the marketplace. However, another thing is that a mentality shift needs to change towards education. The system that we have in the African continent and in our countries needs to change so that it's more purpose-driven, and it also needs to spark interest and dedication towards learning. Also, education, creating apprenticeship, student jobs and potential growth in the workforce, which we have seen in the diaspora, that is working parallel with people going to school, that they can be able to have these things that after they are done educating, they can go into the workplace and be fully employed because they have this level of experience. You go into the workforce and you're always told you need 2 years, 3 years of experience. And you can't have that since you had to study, you had to get into a situation, and then you had to go on and find a job without experience. However, to bridge this gap, we can be able to introduce systems as we see them in the diaspora, where we give our youth student jobs, where we give them internships while they're studying, being able to balance between their education and their student jobs, giving them few hours where they can accumulate this experience that is needed in the workforce. This is one of the ideas that we can be able to push forward. The last but not least, actually, this was my second last, but Jamal stated something about macroeconomic stability, which he's going to take over. So I'm not going to take that from him. So one of the things I'm going to speak on is the expansion of agricultural output. Now, Africa's riches lie within her resources, and her resources are in her fertility. She's called the motherland for a reason. However, the lack of know-how in our farmers, the lack of knowledge and setbacks, yet we have the capability that can accelerate and elevate our economies, is what is putting us back. To solve this, we can be able to go back again to the level of education and training to our farmers, and investing in proper machines and making significant investments towards the agricultural sector. So with that said, what is our role as youth and as diasporans? Echoing KFCB CEO Dr. Ezekiel Mutua's words yesterday, how do we influence the young people and the young minds? Number one, a collaborative effort between governments and the youth. Listen to the youth, and youth speak out and push your agenda to the full force. Number two, peer influence. If I have knowledge from outside that I can be able to bring to our continent, to our countries, and be able to impact my peers, then that can place us a step ahead in terms of going forward and nurturing new ideas. However, we need to have an attitude of less complaining and more nurturing. Number three, incentives. To what gain does a young person have opting not to follow trends? There's a whole complaint about young people going to extreme measures, releasing explicit content so that they can gain relevance, so that they can gain followership, so that they can gain money. What incentives are we putting in place to be able to inspire young people to opt not to follow trends in search of fame and money, but be responsible members of the society, hence pushing forward the economy? Remember number four, which is also correlated to number three, the youth agenda, the youth agenda has non-youths in the foreground. Therefore, the incentives that will be placed cannot correlate to the youth, and this poses a problem. Yet the African median age is 19.7 years, while the Kenyan median age is 20.1 years, and the youth agenda is not pushed by people who are below the 35 years of age. And this also goes into number five, trust young people to execute, to lead, and to grow. Correct them where necessary. And to echo Technofund, the SVAX CEO, who said today, Mr. Najib Abida, he said today in his session, we do not invest in people, and that is one of our biggest problems. Now, take a look at investing in young people and being able to put them forward so that they can lead, so that they can execute, so that they can grow. This places us at an advantage because this is the majority. And if we're able to bring in these new ideas, these new innovations, all these things, we can be able to jump in terms of our growth. I'm going to quickly forward it to Black Lives Matter before I give it to Jamal, because I feel like I have taken too much time. The Black Lives Matter movement is an international movement that focuses on ending police brutality and all racial motivated violence against Black people. It's a global network to bring justice to Black people all across the globe. One of the things that really sparked revolution this year was the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, amongst others. Rest in peace to them. The frustrations of the people of color, especially from the fact that the perpetrators are pardoned or given the bare minimum punishment, is what would have happened if the roles were reversed, because we see a huge difference in the way the system treats Black people who are perpetrators and white people who are perpetrators. This is one of the things that is fusing frustrations into people. Now, the effect on the diaspora for this is that there's a constant fear of being abused physically, either by common individuals or the police. There's no safety and sanctuary for people of color, subconsciously feeling less worth due to your skin color, which also boils into individuals and their capability in terms of performing to their level best. If somebody is insecure about their security, what does that influence in terms of how they're going to behave? And what does it matter if I do my best in life and at the end of the day, I cannot be able to live to be able to fulfill what I need to fulfill? There's a lot of instability mentally, financially, physically, and as a result, it gives us a lesser output than usual. And this also discourages a lot of people from traveling abroad, from going to the diaspora, and it places us in a situation where we don't know what to expect. Therefore, we will stay at a status quo, and that is exactly what we do not want. The impact of this on the continent has brought about the End SARS movement, where youth are standing up for themselves, from the Black Lives Matter movement, where people are standing up for injustices, standing up against injustices, and bringing it into the continent where we also are standing up for ourselves with the End SARS movements, the End Police Brutality movements, giving the youth a voice and a chance to speak out on general injustices is but a start. The police brutality is just but a start, but eventually spoiling over to a lot of other things that we can be able to speak against and push our agenda forward. So with that said, I am going to push it over to Jamal. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much.